The pursuit of knowledge begins here. Welcome to Inquisitio. In the spring of 1974, in a dry field near Xi'an, a group of farmers was digging a well in search of water. The hoe struck something hard, and what came out of the earth was not stone nor root, but a face of clay, life-sized, its eyes open, fixed on nothing for more than 2,000 years. Beneath that field, row after row, an entire army was waiting. Thousands of terracotta warriors, each with his own face, his own uniform, his own battle stance, lined up in silence to defend the man who raised the Great Wall and refused to die. The historian who recorded everything that lay beneath that hill, with a detail that science still confirms today, never wrote a single word about them. The man that army guarded was named Yingzheng, the first emperor of a unified China. He took the throne of Qin at 13, and across a lifetime of war, he bent the 6 kingdoms that resisted him, until no rival remained between the sea and the mountains. In 221, before the Common Era, he gave himself a title no one had used before, Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, and imposed a single script, a single coin, a single measure on a land that spoke 100 tongues. He had conquered everything. And it was then that he was haunted by the one enemy no army defeats. The vaster the empire he had built, the more unbearable became the thought of leaving it. Sima Qian, writing a century later, tells that the emperor stopped entrusting his salvation to the gods and went hunting for it the way a man hunts down a territory. He ordered alchemists to distill minerals in search of the formula for eternal life, drinking what they brought him, convinced that the right metal would make him indestructible. He sent a man named Xu Fu out to sea, at the head of a fleet in search of the herb of immortality, and who never returned. It was not vanity, it was terror. A man who had bent the whole world to his will could not bend that single certainty. The earth confirmed that the hunt was real. In 2002, in Hunan, more than 36,000 bamboo slips were unearthed. Among them, the emperor's own decree ordering the search for the elixir across the entire empire, with the village of Duxiang confirming that it had not yet been found. In 2025, China's National Cultural Heritage Administration authenticated an inscription on the Tibetan Plateau recording another expedition into the Kunlun Mountains after the same impossible plant. The obsession of a single man had become the task of an entire people, and, in the bitterest of ironies, the poison the emperor drank in search of eternal life may have been the very thing that killed him. Sima Qian described what lay beneath the hill. But about the army the farmers found, he did not write a single line. Everything we know about them came from the earth, and what the earth revealed was a feat the ancient world was never expected to achieve. There are around 8,000, and no two are alike. There are broad faces and lean faces, furrowed brows and serene mouths, mustaches trimmed 1,000 ways, hairstyles that shift with rank, built upon a standardized base to which the craftsman added by hand what made each figure unrepeatable: the curve of an ear, the line of a brow, the expression. Each figure stands the height of a man, and the generals rise above the rest, because even in death the hierarchy held, an assembly line 2,000 years before the word existed. The engineering was not only in the faces. The torso was hollow. Coils of clay laid one over another, layer upon layer. The legs solid, the weight gathered low, so that they have stood on their own for more than 2,000 years. In the kiln, at 1,000 degrees, each figure was fired upside down because the upper body was heavier, and inverted it steadied under its own weight. The craftsman mastered the center of gravity 2 millennia before the concept existed, and each one carved his name into the hem of the tunic or the leg of the figure he made, because the Qin state charged every flaw to the name behind it. In their hands, they held real weapons: spears, swords, tens of thousands of bronze crossbow tips, pieces so uniform that the trigger of one mechanism would serve in another. But what time erased without a trace was something else. Every warrior came out of the kiln painted red, green, black, and a synthetic blue-purple that China produced and that vanished with the Han Dynasty, never to be made again for centuries. The archaeologists who excavated them had less than a minute, because exposed to the air, the lacquer flakes away in seconds. The color that survived 2,000 years beneath the earth did not survive the day it was found. An army of clay, assembled like a machine, armed for a war that would never come, and made to last as long as the man who had sworn not to die. An army like that does not rise without an empire behind it. Sima Qian tells that the work on Mount Li had begun in the emperor's 13th year, but that it was only with unification that it took on its boundless scale. More than 700,000 men sent from every corner of the territory. And the Li bamboo slips show how it was possible. A state that recorded every person, every grain of cereal, every day of labor, and dispatched orders from the capital to the most remote village on the frontier. For nearly 4 decades, convicts and craftsmen dug, molded, and carried, torn from their lands never to return, raising underground chambers and walls, and above them an artificial hill that still commands the plain today. What he writes about their end is the darkest passage of the chronicle. When the emperor was buried, his successor feared that the artisans knew too much. The secrets of the chamber, the traps, the path to the treasure. The doors were closed with the workers still inside. The men who raised the emperor's eternal refuge were sealed within it, along with what they knew. No one came out again. What they knew was this: the chamber has never been opened. But Sima Qian's account describes a tomb built as an empire in miniature. On the ceiling, the heavenly bodies rendered in inlaid pearls and gems. On the floor, the shape of the conquered lands, crossed by rivers and seas, reproduced in liquid mercury, set to flow by mechanisms so that they would never stop. And ground-penetrating radar surveys have confirmed chambers beneath the mound exactly where he placed them. And the soil above the tomb revealed concentrations of mercury dozens of times above normal, tracing across the ground the same figure of the rivers he had described. The account was right, and there is in this a final irony. The metal the emperor may have drunk so as not to die is the same that still poisons the earth around his body, guarding him so well that no living soul dares come near. Qin Shi Huang built an immortal army to guard his eternity. It did not last a generation. A few years after his death, the empire collapsed into revolt, and the pits were looted and burned. The roof caved in, the bronze weapons were torn from the warriors' hands, and the fire broke into shards the army that was meant to last forever. These are the stories the earth kept when men tried to erase them. If you want to find more, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because here, curiosity never sleeps, and there is always more to discover.